We're seeing more and more LHR GPUs coming from Nvidia and its partners to deter GPU miners, but will this be enough to put a stop to this insane graphics card frenzy, and what kind of implications will it have for the rest of the market? Well, let's discuss that in this video. Hey, if you enjoy content like this, drop a like, make sure to subscribe, and smash that bell so you never miss another video. Hey, what is going on guys? Danny here, welcome back to the channel and I hope you've all been doing well. Earlier this month, we talked about Nvidia releasing a new high-end GPU to add to their RTX 3000 lineup of graphics cards. This being the RTX 3080 Ti, which has been pretty much confirmed at this point, as we have seen numerous leaked models from AIBs, screenshots of the GPU in hardware monitoring programs, and a few benchmarks. Then to top it off, we did have Nvidia post a little teaser on their Twitter account and post a date for their Computex conference, which will be held May 31st, and here they'll most definitely be announcing the RTX 3080 Ti, along with some other announcements, I'm sure of that. Now, I've gone over the leaked specs and my initial thoughts about the GPU in my previous video, so at this point, I'm not going to go over all of that again. I'll wait until the card is finally out and take it from there, but if you're interested in that video, link for it will be in the description. What I wanted to do for this video was follow up on one of the subjects I briefly touched upon in that video, which was about Nvidia's LHR or Lite Hashrate silicon GPUs. This is new silicon Nvidia is bringing to the market for their existing and upcoming RTX 30 series GPUs that have hardware built-in hash rate limiters, as well as support for resizable bar right from the get-go, so you wouldn't have to go through the hassle of doing a BIOS flash. Back then, these LHR silicon GPUs were still a bit of a rumor, but recently we have seen more information come out regarding the new graphics cards, as well as an official announcement from Nvidia themselves, with some partners already having released their models in various parts of the world, as well as a site already leaking its performance in a few various benchmarks. Right now, as I'm sure you're all aware, the GPU market is a complete mess, and has been this way since late last year, ever since we had the crypto mining boom. The GPUs were already in very high demand to begin with, but then adding onto that, you have demand from GPU miners who buy these cards in bulk for their mining setups. This insane demand then leads to GPU prices going completely off the rails, just absolutely astronomically high prices. I'm not even talking about a GPU scalper overcharging for these cards on a site like eBay, which by the way are also a huge part of the problem, but manufacturers themselves are raising MSRPs and therefore leads to retailers selling cards for several hundreds of dollars above that. Want to buy an RTX 3080 in today's GPU market? Well, you'll be looking at paying around $1,100 or $1,200, if not even more, which to most PC gamers is obviously absurd, considering when this card had launched, it had an MSRP of $699. Though as of now, I feel like most people just don't care about prices and only care about actually seeing the GPUs in stock. So as soon as they see it's available, they're willing to purchase it regardless of the price tag. So to help alleviate this mess of a GPU market, Nvidia tried to fix this by nerfing, quote unquote, nerfing the RTX 3060 mining performance when it came out back in February. Although this fix was more of a software implementation from the driver side and was easily worked around, and not to mention Nvidia themselves had messed up as they had accidentally released the drivers which removed the nerf from the GPU. Nonetheless, it didn't really help ease the demand for the RTX 3060. The GPU was still instantly sold out and miners still went after it. What differentiates these new LHR silicon graphics cards is that they all have baked-in hash rate limiters right into the GPUs themselves, which means once you use them to mine an Ethereum-based cryptocurrency, the GPU will reduce its hash rate by half of what you'd normally get with that specific GPU. Take the RTX 3070 for example. On a site like MinerStat, as of now they're stating that this GPU will give you a hash rate of around 61 megahashes per second, which yields around $3.72 of profit per day. So it seems like profitability has come down as well in the recent weeks. I remember back in March and people were saying they could make like $7 to $10 a day off an RTX 3070. So if Nvidia is claiming that the hash rates on these LHR silicon mining GPUs will be halved, then that means the new LHR 3070 will yield around 30 megahashes per second, which therefore leads to around only $1.30 of profit per day, which really isn't all that great when you think about it. Remember, these are just rough figures I'm going off of from this site, but mining performance is also dependent on a whole bunch of other stuff as well, such as which algorithm you're using, which pool you're in, GPU tuning, etc. Now, a Chinese hardware review site by the name of XP Reviews managed to get a hold of custom RTX 3060s with the new LHR silicon, And they did do a review of that card in a few various benchmarks. They showcased the card having the same performance as the original RTX 3060 in regards to synthetic benchmarks and gaming, which was definitely an important thing to address, as I know there were some who were questioning if these new LHR GPUs would have lower gaming performance. But rest assured, this is not the case, and you can expect an LHR RTX 3070 will give you the same gaming performance as an RTX 3070, which was released late last year. What is important to note, however, is that the RTX 3060 they tested yielded around 21 mega hashes per second immediately, which is significantly lower than an RTX 3060 using the proper drivers, which would yield around 45. So it's around half, which lines up with what Nvidia had said. There was also a user on the Twitter by the name of Kafka Chow who responded to video cards with a screenshot showing the mining performance of the upcoming RTX 3080 Ti, and here you guys can see the 3080 Ti attains about 58 mega hashes per second, which when compared to something like an RTX 3080 non-LHR, which was one of the first RTX 30 series GPUs to be launched last year, it is significantly lower. So what kind of implications will this have on the GPU market? Well, first off, I am happy to see that at least something was done to help alleviate demand for the existing RTX 30 series graphics cards. Had nothing changed, then it would have been business as usual for miners, who would have continued to buy every single SKU in bulk. At least this way, it'll deter miners from going after those GPUs, especially when they have such low profitability rates. The return on investment is terrible on these GPUs, which consequently leads to PC gamers having more access to GPUs in stock. Along with that, with ETH moving to proof of stake later on, this was already going to make miners stop using GPUs to mine, but now with LHR silicon, I feel like this process has been just further accelerated. But it's not all sunshines and rainbows. It's not like GPU miners are going to stop overnight and say, well, that's it, better stop mining. There are still other mining algorithms which these GPUs can be used for and won't be affected by the hash rate limiters, so they can be repurposed for something else. So it's not like the demand is instantly going to drop, so definitely keep that in mind. It's just a matter of how well those other currencies are going to be doing in terms of value, what their profitability rate is like for it to be even deemed worth it. Right now, it seems like the whole market is on a decline, and if this keeps up and it crashes, prices will hopefully start to come back down to earth. But that is, like I said, dependent on a whole bunch of other stuff. I'm not expecting that you'll be able to buy an RTX 3080 again for close to $700, and you shouldn't either. But if it means at least, overpaying by a couple hundreds of dollars as opposed to $500 or even $1,000, then I'd much rather deal with that GPU market rather than the one we're dealing with right now. My biggest concern will be, after all the craziness we've gone through, just how inclined manufacturers or retailers will be for lowering prices. When they've seen that, hey, they're still selling out, so why should we even bother then? It's not a huge deal for the people who are already in the high-end enthusiast segment. Those people, I'm sure, have the cash to spare, but rather it makes buying GPUs really non-feasible for someone only looking to pay $330 for an RTX 3060, but now has to pay like $500 plus for one. And then, they set their eyes on something like a console, which is also another piece of equipment which is quite difficult to buy, so it's tough, definitely. So here's hoping that we're near the end of this frenzy and that there is a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel.